Hi and welcome back to Jim Builds, and today I want to talk about the wonderful world of windscreen wipers. Reason for that is currently the Cortina only has 1-speed wipers. And not only that, there's a few other things that I want to address at the same time. Now I know there's going to be quite a few of you who know Fords in and out, and you're right, yes, the Corsair did have a 2-speed wiper. But you try and find a motor for one of those now and also pay for it. I mean, even the Cortina's wiper motor and linkages are getting expensive. So I wanted to come up with an idea that would allow me to go for 2-speed wipers and possibly home it at the same time, because one of the things I'll talk about in a minute is how to actually use the wipers on this car. And also washing the windscreen, because it's actually quite difficult, as I'll demonstrate here. So this is a spare dashboard for the Cortina. This is my wiper switch, this is my washer pump, and I'm going to say pump, not washer switch, because whilst you're driving and you'd think windscreen's a bit dirty, best clean it, you have to pump this and then turn the wipers on. Now hopefully that's cleaned your screen. Then, going back to the homing thing, these wipers should home, so they should go back to where, you know, roughly where the scuttle is, and everything's fine, wipers not on anyway anymore. Mine don't do that. So I actually have to then time when to turn my wipers off so that I can see and carry on. And at first I thought this was pretty funny, and I did drive the car like this when I first had it, but now I've been driving it on the motorway and I was driving to work, and it's quite difficult to drive a car at 70 whilst you're trying to wash the screen and clean it, time your wipers with one hand on the wheel, and you're actually spending more time watching the wipers than you are on what's in front of you, which with 60-year-old, 55-year-old brakes, not the best idea. So that's where that has drawn me to. The other thing is, technology's moved on. Now, I've used it a few times on here. I now have a 3D printer. I spend a lot of time professionally drawing stuff in CAD, so why not use that to my advantage? And that's where this has come in. So this is a wiper motor from a Volvo S40, and the reason for that is nothing to do with it being partly Ford, partly Volvo, whatever. It's because they are consistently cheap and new. So yes, this is from a 2005 car, but there are no end of these on eBay for a tenner. So I thought, well, why not go for something that can be easily purchased should anybody else want to do this, or I make a kit for it, which is tempting, but that's a thing for another day. Anyway, I'll show you my wipers now, and then I will need to go off and do some measuring. So this is the wiper motor, and I did rebuild this a year or two ago, which you will be able to find a video of, but basically that is full speed trying to clean your windscreen. Now if I turn that, it should home. It doesn't, unfortunately. So that's how you turn it off. So you have to try and guess where we are in relation to the scuttle. And this is the new wiper motor. Firstly, look at the size difference. It is tiny in comparison, so that's nice. The other thing is we have 5 connections here, and I need to figure out what these are. which I will do once I've figured out a way of mounting this to this. So I'm going to go fire up the CAD and I will be back soon. This is the original motor. Took some measurements from it and managed to get it drawn up. Got the holes in the shaft where it needs to be, and it's the same story with the new Bosch, which is a little easier to measure, but this was all done using a vernier and that's about it. I've drawn up the mounting plate for the motor along with the arm itself, so I can work out the difference in height and where it's all going to land. But taking the original, which seems to have all the details on there, I've come up with this. So the green pieces are bits that I'll need to add in. The mounting block I'll 3D print, and the linkage crank arm I will try and print it, but I don't think it'll work, so I'll go in and make one out of steel. It seems to have gone okay though. The washer pump, modelled it up the same because I need to recreate this trim piece. Now this is the switch that I'm looking to use. It's got 3 positions, so off, first speed and second speed, and it's got an M11 thread, which is a bit weird, not something I've worked with before. And what I've come up with this, so I've taken made a new switch for it so we know what it looks like, and this is a modified version of the original trim that's got the right thread in it, so it should all work. I've had a couple of hours of printing and this is looking really good. It's gone in straight away. I think if I can make it look like it's chrome, you wouldn't know it's any different. And as a nice little bonus, the original button still works. It actually fits on the switch without having to modify it. So I'll clean that up as well before that goes back on. The next thing is this. So this is the motor, and this is the plate that's going to go from here to this. If you see at the back, I've just sunk some M6 nuts in there. Yes, metric. Don't attack me all at once. So that will sit on that, and we will go from there. I've had to come back to this point because I need to make an adjustment to something I've done. When you're wiring up these wiper motors, you've got, hang on, bear with me, 5 connections. Now, if you don't get the right connections, you can make this turn. It will turn the opposite way, and it gives you some interesting problems, as I'll show you now. So if I put earth to terminal 1, and I'll put this one to terminal 2, the motor is producing 35 volts, so this will actually just blow any fuse. I don't know how it's doing it, but it's certainly right, because if I put that to the battery terminal, 11.5 volts, so that makes sense. Again, there we go, get that right. To that terminal, 11.3 volts. Off the shaft, 37 volts. Right, if I just disconnect that. And now put the earth terminal 1 and go back to terminal 2. There we go. And we do that again. So still getting 11 volts going into it, shy of 12. But now 22 millivolts, so that's virtually nothing. That took me an awful long time to figure out because the motor was turning. You'd think you're fine. I'll show you how many fuses I've been through just to figure this out, because I was trying to work, I was thinking it was the wiring, it was this, it was that, it was something else, or the motor was just jammed, or the linkage was not working the way it should be. I've gone through an awful lot. Got all those. They're the ones I found. I might have thrown a few. I've made a mistake here, so I thought I'd come back and show you. Now you can see the motor is overhanging on the left hand side. It was hitting the dash support, so I've made this one, which has rotated it through about 10 degrees. And the way I'm going to mount it is I'll countersink the holes that go to the motor, and then the 3 that mount to the plate will just work as they normally are, so a threaded piece. Hopefully it should work. So it's been a few days of trying to work out what's the best way of wiring it, putting in relays and fuses and all that good stuff. It's been a bit of a head scratcher, I'm not going to lie, and I think I've cracked it. I'm going to switch over now and do the science bit, so pay attention. This is the wiring diagram I've found that's managed to work, and I will put a link in to the website for this. But on the left in white you've got the live feed, which is switch live, so when you've turned your ignition on you'll be able to use these. That also feeds the wiper motor. So say it's light rain, you turn it to the first speed, and that is this yellow section here that runs through the this 5-pin relay and out to the first speed by the red wire. What that will do is run the motor for as long as you need to. If you then need to go up to speed 2, it will stop the power from that relay and then go to full speed, which is the green cable. To turn it off, you then have to go back through first and then off. Now when you turn it off, the power is still running through that relay and it switches over, which is what a 5-pin relay does, and that gives a signal to the orange cable, and that is what gives it the power to then return back to home. The motor clicks into its home position and it's then turned off, which is fairly straightforward. It took me a while to get it to find the right loom for what I needed. And then with the washer switch, it's very simple. So it's a momentary switch, so until on for as long as you hold it, turn it off, that's it. And that will go straight to full speed. But because you've overridden the switch in the motor, it will once you've taken your finger off, it will naturally home, which I didn't think it would do originally, but it turns out that is a happy coincidence of all this. Like I say, I'll put a link up so that anybody wants to do similar, that they can copy the same information I managed to find when I was looking into it. Yeah, that's it, all the science. I hope you paid attention and understood that, because even I'm not quite sure. So the next step is to modify this. Now this is my fuse box. I built this last year when I was going through yet another wiring scenario, and I left this bank free for emergencies, and this is one. So I'm going to put in another bank of 6 relays. I don't need 6 relays, but it means I now have the opportunity to have 5 other things. I don't know what they are, we'll see, but it's nice to know that I can expand it further. I'll put in another block specifically for the wipers. So currently we've got that's the engine, that's my accessories, headlights, and that's indicators and hazards. I've already got the fuse in here, so that's an easy win. So I'm going to go off and wire it and make it a lot neater than that snake's wedding that's down there, and I'll show you when I've finished. I've put some power to the board. This is my switch lives, so that runs off. I've got a single point coming in here, and that just gives power to all these, which goes off to the relays and all that other business. My earths are or here, and when it's mounted on the car, this is on fiberglass, so it's all earthed, no issues there. Coming to this plug, which is for all the accessories, so this powers the heater and the radio and other various bits and pieces, but I've left the wiper live feed on here so that if I ever went back to the original motor, it will just go straight in. There's nothing's been changed. All I've done is add extra wires, which can be quite easily. You remove this piece of loom here and unpin it at this point. You can just take the loom out. It's all added on, it's extra. So yeah, this is all down here. This is what's going on the dash. It'll get tidied once I've proved it out. But we've got a momentary switch here, so as soon as I let go, it goes off. So I'll use this for wash wipe, so not only will it power the wiper motor, it will also send a live feed to the washer jet. So that's how it's going to work. So like I say, and if I turn on, so this is reverse speed, and that's full speed. Now what I'm going to do, because I've got the printed block here, I'm just going to leave it running to see whether it's okay with the heat and everything. So I will be back in a few hours. So I've come back into the garage. It's been a good 7 hours now. I'm done for the day. Put this on early this morning and it is still going strong. It's not missed a beat. The motor's warm at this end, but I'd say cup of tea warm. This end okay. So nothing, it's not transferring that much heat into the printed block, which I'm glad about. We've not had any distortion on there. The clatter is just because, there you go, if I let go of that, it just needs that little extra tightening up from when it's on actually fitted. It's been running at full speed at this as well, so I'm really happy. Loom's okay, nothing's blown. So I think I'm going to de-rig all this, get the fuse box fitted again, let this cool down and look to fit it and go from there. But how cool's that? There's no way I'm going to be driving this in the rain for 7 hours again. That'd be painful. Anyway, onwards. Yeah, before I put it back in, I meant to say, when I homed it, I've made sure that the linkage is at the furthest point of its stroke going this direction, so when it starts to rotate, it will pull the wipers up. I think that should work, so it should naturally bring it back down to where it needs to be. In my mind, it seems to make sense. We'll give it a try when I've mounted it. And the reason for the blue here was when I was checking this this crank arm, that it wasn't clashing. I just wanted to see if there was any points it was picking up. It's simple enough. I've made it out of 5mm steel and just bent it and then welded another M6 bolt on here. This is just one that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Wasn't quite enough stroke on it, but yeah, it's done the trick. Right, back to fitting this lot up. Finally got the wipers back in and the loom together and back in, which is nice. Doesn't seem to have any issues. I'm going to tell a little fib here. Yeah, I have actually just run it because, well, having gone through as many fuses as you saw earlier, just wanted to be sure before I went for it. So let's show you. Right, assume there's some dials here because I've got to do some more work behind here, so I'm not going to put that in yet. Washer jet's got to go be wired yet, but so that's cool. Can wash and wipe. There we go. First speed, and if it's really bad, so I can just turn it on and off when I want. I know it's wipers, and it's not even a massive deal, but to me it is really cool. So now I feel like I can drive in worse weather, which I'm not planning on, but better to be safe than sorry, I suppose. I hope you found it interesting, and if you have, please get in touch or drop me a like or a comment or whatever the cool kids do, but definitely subscribe because I'd really appreciate that, and you'd be a lot cooler if you did. I am now going to go do something else, but I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.